Hello, fellow Redditors. It is I, the Divine Sword Meliorn, and today I want to film quite a lengthy video showcasing a build I'm enjoying this league called Doryani's Prototype Spectre Pathfinder Summoner. That's a mouthful. I'm just going to call it Doryani's Pathfinder, a short form. Now, I want to say this is not a build guide, but I will say I didn't create this build, but I essentially took a look at everyone on PoE Ninja. I found the people that I thought were smart because I've been playing this game for a long time. I just haven't played like the past couple leagues. The last league I played seriously was Crucible, so I skipped TOTA, I skipped Affliction, I skipped Calandra, I skipped Necrotropolis because I didn't think they were fun. I'm having a lot of fun this league, so I'm actually going to film a video on it. For reference, you can see here in my stash tab, like I've dropped a lot of divines. I'm quite rich. I'm not a super serious player by any means. I'm the type of guy that picks up jewelers and picks up armorer scraps. I've dropped 2 Hinakore's locks, and I'll be honest, the only thing I really do nowadays is I just farm T17 strong boxes because it's fun. So that's all the preface I want to provide in regards to how I generate my currency and my experience playing the game. I'm a casual, I'm not a content creator. Now, this build is quite interesting. And as I said, all I do is analyze people on PoE Ninja, and this is the setup that I came up with, which I think is stronger than what anyone else has on PoE Ninja, or it follows the best practices from what I've seen. To really get started, of course, you do need the Doryani's Prototype chess piece. I have +2 minion gems. I bought mine for 45 divines because it has +2 duration, and I think at end of league I might do some Val Absolution memes. But right now I think you can get it for maybe 30, 35 divines. Yeah, this is really the core of the build because it's the damage. Of course, the other expensive pieces are the wand. I actually recombinated this wand. I think a week ago, a wand like this would be like 80 divines. Even now, mine is probably like 60, 50 divines. But I had recombinated mine. This cost me like 10 divines to craft. It was just alt spamming it. You can see here I have all the wands. I was alt spamming. I was combinating. But before that, I was using Darkseer, which is 1 divine, which is really nice. The helmet is like this is like 30 chaos for the good corruption implicit, which is like nothing. All these abyss jewels is like 30 chaos for the fracture with the cast speed. The Spectre we're using is Wretched Defiler, so they only do care about cast speed. And you just reforge light inside the harvest shit, so you get lightning damage and avoid chance to be shocked because you're running Storm Shroud, so you are effectively ailment immune, which is really nice. I also do have Taunt on one of these jewels because it's 10% damage reduction, which makes me tankier than other builds. I don't see anyone doing this. And I also have 2% Fizz damage reduction just because I can. If you want to use another mod, you can. I just think these are the best mods, so it's whatever you want. My Eyes of the Great Wolf, I think these are like 4 divines right now for lightning to cold or fire. We use fire because we have purity fire. Mine has 4% life per second. I bought mine for 8 divines. It might be 10 divines now. This is nothing. The Svalin shield, I was using a regular version until yesterday. This cost me 100 chaos, but the one I'm using right now, it cost me 5 divines. I think, and no one else is doing this, I think the +1 socketed gems is actually required for the build. If you don't have +1 socketed gems, your Purity of Fire is not going to go to level 23. It's going to go to level 22 because you're using a +1 wand. I noticed this because Darkseer is obviously a +2 wand. So if you're running this with a minion wand with more damage, you do need the +1 Svalin. Before the +1 Svalin, I was using a max block Svalin as well. This one, again, I had bought this one for 100C. This is really cheap. I don't know why it's this cheap. I think Svalin is such a broken unique this league. And +1 max block is just so underrated because it's like 2% damage reduction or something. It's crazy. Anyways, the boots is also quite expensive. I crafted these myself. I will say I would not play this build if you do not have the currency and if you do not have all the minion gem, Spectre gem mods in place, right? As a Pathfinder, you don't have any minion life because you're on the right side of the tree. So you can't get Lord of the Dead, you can't get Sacrifice, you can't get any of these minion life nodes. So your minions are actually very squishy. And you'll see in my setup that I actually do something quite similar or different to make my minions tankier. So you do need the +2 raised Spectre gems, which is a Elder mod that's elevated. You need the elevated Crusade to get 90 max res. So we can have 90, sorry, my fire. So you get 90, 90 max and cold res. These are required for the build. This boots cost like 20 divine to craft. If you were to buy these, it'd be like 30, 40 divines. So yeah, this along with this is already quite expensive. I will say the minimum budget for the build, in my opinion, I would not play this build unless you had minimum 180 divines. Before playing this build, I was playing Baylor Mage's Holy Relic build, and I did play Brevi's Bama, Blink Arrow, Mirror Arrow build. So I do have a lot of experience with minion builds. And as a result, I did sell my gear, liquidate, and of course I was farming Ubers already with Holy Relic because I think it's also a very strong build. It just is not as fast as clear as this, and it's not as tanky, which is nothing wrong with it. It just also has a damage healing because you can't invest as much into it. Previ, I liked the damage and I liked the tankiness. It just I didn't really like the mechanics, so I swapped to this, of course. So yeah, boots, very expensive. Tides of Time, you need 3 life flasks and 3 utility flasks. This is like 5 divines for a perfect one. I think it's very worth it. I think this unique is very busted with the flasks, which we'll get to next. The gloves, I crafted myself. You need minimum 21% suppress on gloves, right? I have 21 suppress. If you don't have 21 suppress, you're going to only be at 98% or below spell suppress. I'm missing 2 suppress on my gloves because I need to divine it and I need the perfect implicit. Otherwise, you need to run multiple spell suppress tattoos, which are 2 divines each, which is that's a bit abhorrent to me. I'm a pretty cheap guy. But yeah, this is not hard to craft. I think it took me like 150 essences, and then I just used Eldritch Chaos Orbs. I will say, I priced this at 5 to 10 divines because I didn't know this, but apparently I didn't know Orbs of Conflict were so expensive because I had played the leagues prior. Yeah, so I used like 10 of them before I realized they were like 100 chaos each because I started with like a lesser spell suppress. Like I do regret that a bit, but it doesn't really matter because you saw my currency. The things I do differently to make my minions tankier, this is only like 5 people do this on PoE Ninja, and I understand why, is to use a Gloam Ring. This is not an easy item to craft. It's actually quite annoying because Gloam Rings only drop as mirrored items from Refracting Mists. So you need to buy 5 of them, and then you need or 3 or 5, I don't remember. You gotta buy whatever amount you need, and then you have to vendor them. And then because the bases are like 30C for 83 or 1 divine for 84, you need to use a Black Morrigan recipe to split them into 3 different bases. Split them into 3 bases. So you get your money's worth, right? Because these bases, like for the 84 version, is 5 divines minimum. That's why mine says mirrored and split. You can see I have the failed ones right here. I also didn't know this, but Refracting Mists, when you use the Refracting Mist on the item itself, it actually it has a variable value. So you're not, even though I roll 110 life, it's not guaranteed you're gonna get double life, right? It's potentially you get 165 life. So that goes on a ratio from like 1.5 to 2.1. So even though for a 3 mod item, the math is that you can get all 3 mods correct for 1 out of 4. So you have to try this like 4 times with 4 Refracting Mists. You can also get screwed over on the variability, which I did actually get screwed over, and I didn't know that, so I was very upset. But yeah, this ring cost me like 40 divines to craft, which is insane. I think, but it's worth it. So if you buy this ring, it's probably like 80 divines, so don't buy it, craft it yourself. It's very hard to craft. It's very annoying to craft because you need all the bases. You can see here that I have all the Gloam Rings, and of course I've sold the crappier ones, but these are all duds, right? You can see plus 200 life, plus lightning res, minus cold. You need plus cold, and you need minus lightning. But yeah, the minus 15% minion damage reduction is OP, and it's what makes this build tankier than other Pathfinder builds, which is a requirement. I mentioned this already, but this ring costs like maybe a couple divines to craft. You just buy the base and you just spam with bound fossils. So that's really it in regards to items. The most expensive thing probably is the Progenesis, which I think is 60 divines. But as Pathfinder, you are unkillable. I am leveling in T17s. With Progenesis and Flask Effect, you take like 50% of your damage over 4 seconds instead of... so that's automatically 50% damage reduction. Combined with Petrified Blood, which Pathfinder is the only class that can run Petrified Blood meaningfully because you have permanent Flask, so you can go above the life pool. It basically means you're pretty much unkillable. Combined with full spell suppress, full 90 res, and 90% block because you have Spallen. Yeah, you're pretty much untouchable. You have minions, you have taunt, you're untouchable. The only thing that really kills you is lightning damage over time. But thanks to Divine Flask and thanks to Tides of Time, thanks to spamming life recovery tattoos, like lightning damage over time for Mana Siphoner doesn't really kill you. And I could even get a better flask than this, but I don't because I don't like rolling ults. You really don't die even to lightning dots. You don't die in half a second as people think. It takes 3 seconds. If you want to, you could take Leth Shade for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points and get the tattoos. And you would be immune to lightning damage, basically, right? I don't do that, so I don't really care because I don't die. If you really want to get even more damage over time reduction, you can run Soul Arakali. I don't do that again. I run Soul of Lunaris because I don't like Chain. I like movement speed. I like VDR. I like Avoid. It's really nice. You don't need Soul of Brian King because with Avoid Shock on both your jewels and Storm Shroud, you're effectively ailment immune, right? And we're already running Tempest Shield, so again, that's also quite nice. But yeah, you also run Soul of Ralakesh because you're not bleed immune, but it's whatever. You have so much regen, bleed doesn't matter. You just make it so you take less damage, and Corrupting Blood is not as bad. Yeah, that's pretty much a defense system in this build. I'm just going to go over the jewels and the tree really quickly. My Elegant Hubris, I think if you go for an Elegant Hubris, you should at least have minimum 4 notables. You should always, I think at minimum, have 2 Slumlords, 1 Axiom Warden for life, and 1 other notable. I went for a Robust Diet. Of course, because this is life and I don't really care about anything else. You can get Chaos Res, you can get Cold Res, you can get whatever you want. But I'm already Res capped, so I get this. I have Mage Banes, I get Profane Chemistry. You could get Solipsism because there's 6 notables here. I was looking for 6 notable Elegant Hubrises, but they weren't for sale, or they were 20 Divines. I bought mine for 1 Divine, and in my opinion, you should like put Live Soldiers or Snipe one, or I did the Autistic Timeless Jewel Calculator thing to like check every single variable and the weightings to like see what was good. So yeah, one thing I think people should not do is do not do the Thread of Hope thing. I think it's a waste of points because yeah, you can get these 2 points, but then like you're sort of wasting the value you get from Impossible Escape. And yeah, I think people run Thread of Hope because they can't get good enough rings. I notice it's hard to get good rings nowadays with really low lightning res, and Thread of Hope sort of like gets 90 minus 19 minus 20%, right, which is also very nice. But I think it's a waste of a jewel slot. I would rather put something else. Of course, you do run Unending Hunger. You'll notice my tattoos. I have some Chaos tattoos. I don't need them. I'm already capped. Life Recovery tattoos. I have some Cold Res tattoos. I'm already capped and I can get more. I'm just too lazy. I like being overcapped. So replace these with more Life Recovery tattoos, to be honest. I run 1 Suppressed tattoo because I mentioned the glove thing. My Cluster Jewels, this has cost me like 1 Divine to craft. I just bought the base and I just reforged speed. If I were to upgrade this, I would get 35% effect because I'm missing like 10% cast speed and like 30% minion damage. That's more damage if I need it. You should run at least minimum 1 Dread March, 1 Renewal, because it's damage and minion tankiness. In the future, you probably want to run 2 medium Cluster Jewels. Once I get 100, I'll probably respec and get another one of these. Again, Storm Shroud in conjunction with Avoid Being Shocked gives you ailment immunity. You run a Light of Meeting because it's the only way to cap Chaos Resistance meaningfully. Yeah, more tattoos. I run 5 Mark Effect tattoos just to give Sniper Smart more damage. You don't need it, but I think it's worth it. It's also quite cheap in my opinion. Again, Cluster Jewel because I don't have 35% effect, but I would like to get it. I would like to get Feasting Friends on a medium Cluster Jewel. You need 1 Feasting Friends because it gives your minions Leech. Like, you can get Leech on Jewels as well, but I don't have it on Jewels, so I have it here, which is nice. And you get Impossible Escape. Besides that, the tree is very consistent with everything I've seen on PoE Ninja. The only thing I do differently is pretty much I don't take Thread of Hope. I do spam mark tattoos and life recovery tattoos, which I think most people do, and I do run the medium clusters, which I think very few people do. Yeah, and of course I do run the plus funds fallen and the gloam ring. The other thing I do differently is I actually don't use Spirit of Fortune. Now, hear me out. Spirit of Fortune gives you 50% more damage, but what I find is that in these juiced T17 maps, right, like I'm gonna run this one in a moment, where it's like rare and unique monsters inflict 5%. Like Spirit of Fortune dies, I swear, every 10 maps or something, which isn't that bad, but it's annoying. And I notice the prices are getting higher. They're like 50 chaos each, and I don't really like buying them. So instead, I swapped my Bone Offering to Flesh Offering, right? Because Bone Offering is the block one, and you run this for tankiness on bosses. So I just swapped it for Flesh Offering to get more damage. And I dropped the Spirit of Fortune, so I lose Wrath and I lose Lucky, which I swear is 50% more damage. But I get another Wretched Defiler, and I get another, and I get Flesh Offering, right? The attack speed for Flesh Offering and cast speed is not that important because I already have a cast speed ring, cast speed ring, cast speed wand, and I have a lot of cast speed on my tree. So it's actually not that good. Again, Spirit of Fortune is like 50% more damage, and you should run it if you care about damage. I just don't, because I really don't care. I care more about tankiness for my minions because I don't die. But yeah, you're gonna see in this map that like even though this is 95% more monster life, it really doesn't affect the clear speed at all. The only thing you're gonna notice the lack of Spirit of Fortune is the boss. But again, I really don't care. I do want to mention I am running Awakened Spell Echo, so that's obviously very expensive. You don't need this. I was running Spell Echo normally. You should run Awakened Minion Damage for +1 Minion Gem. You should run Awakened Control Destruction. Like, you should do everything else I'm doing. Just this is probably the most unnecessary thing. This is probably the last upgrade I would get because it's also quite expensive. But it is very nice. The Minion Gems are required for this build, and I would say you should not run this build unless you have at minimum 180 Divines or 200 Divines to invest in the build. But besides that, once you do have the build set up and running, the only real maintenance you need to do is ensure your life flask is constantly going. I know some people use a metronome for this. Don't use your Flesh Offering every pack. I don't have to do it. You don't do it. I do it because like I'm a noob and I've been conditioned to do it because I played Chaos Animate Weapon, and Chaos Animate Weapon you have to animate the blades every single time, right? Which obviously like that's something to do. So I like playing builds with something to do. So like I purposely like do the flesh arm, but you don't need to do it, right? So you can see here because the projectiles like spraying quite fast. The clear is quite good. Sorry for running around in circles. I'm not really paying attention, just speaking. Yeah, but I'm just not gonna pick anything. I'll loot it after. Again, this is a 165% more monster life map with endurance charges. The endurance charges do matter because it's not lightning resistance, it's elemental damage reduction, which does affect us. So this is like this is as tanky a T17 map is ever gonna get unless you add Delirium. Then of course Delirium is just gonna make them maybe 4 times as tankier, and if they're 4 times as tankier, then I would probably run a Spirit of Fortune, right? But again, for like clearing, you don't need it. And if you think like I'm also 150% movement speed permanently because of course I'm Pathfinder with a movement speed flask. You can get rid of this movement speed suffix on your flask if you really wanted to get like permanent armor or something. You do run Determination and you do run Roomies for the block mostly. I'm thinking of dropping Determination to go and like to get Flesh and Stone because you can run reduced aura mods, right? So Determination is sort of doing nothing, or you could run Wrath if you really wanted to, which would actually like offset the damage loss from no Spirit of Fortune. I was also thinking like potentially you could technically run like Frost, what is it called? The ice armor, the whatever Arctic armor. You could drop Storm Shroud because you have Tempest Shield, so you'd be freeze immune, you would be shock immune, and then essentially you would just get another jewel back, and you would also like you'd have less lightning resistance because Storm Shroud gives lightning resistance, right? So you could drop Storm Shroud if you really wanted to. What else? Yeah, you're alien immune, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, you could drop Determination. You can get Arctic armor and Flesh and Stone. I don't do it because you're sort of socket starved. You notice I'm going to be using life tap on all my spells, and I run automation setup. But yeah, I do like Determination because I have Molten Shell linked on my Svalin, and Molten Shell has no mana cost. It has a 3 life cost. So like the idea is that like every single time you get hit, you're proccing Molten Shell, and even right now I still have like 10,000 armor, right? So, and that could go higher if I had the life flask or the armor flask. So I could have like I think 15k, 18k armor. I just don't, right? So it's really your choice. But yeah, so clear. I'm not really paying attention to this map. You'll notice I'm not looting anything, so I'll loot it afterwards. I'll loot the chaos, I guess. But besides that, even in the tankiest map possible, where mobs have endurance charges, the mobs have minion life. You're just walking around at 150% movement speed. You're curse immune, you're alien immune. I just noticed my mobs are dying, so my minions are dying. Yeah, that happens. I'm not paying that much attention. This mod is a bit of a killer if you're not paying attention. Mobs remove 8% minion life. Like, that's an actually killer, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, that mod kills. That's all. Like, I came from playing Blink Arrow, Mirror Arrow, and I came from playing Baylor Mage Holy Relic, so, like, I don't really, like, pay attention to mods. I've been playing this build for, like, maybe a week and a half. A lot of this is AFK time, so do keep that in mind. But I'm level 97. I just level in T17s. I leveled up as Blink Arrow, Mirror Arrow on this build, so it was really fast. Like, there's a leveling guide somewhere. Just buy the 6 links, just sell the 6 links. So if people buy like the Fox Shade, it was worth it for me. Buy the 7 League step. This build's pretty good. Yeah. So, and again, I'm not using my Flesh Offering, or if you want to even make him even tankier, you can even use Bone Offering. I don't really care. So we're gonna do the boss now. This is Lycia. This is like Lycia with 200% life. All you really do is just walk around, chill. You can get hit by that, but you have so much movement speed, it doesn't matter. Now, I didn't play the Affliction, Sanctum, TOTA, so I didn't know any of these mechanics. Like, I didn't know what tattoos were. I don't know what these things are, the orange things, but these orange things on the ground deal so much damage, and they ignore block or something. But it's whatever. You can like those things hit hard even for this build. I don't know why. So yeah, you can't really see shit on this build because all the projectiles, so you sort of have to be tanky. Like, in my mind, like, I'm making this video because I don't think this build will be here next league. I genuinely don't think GGG will allow Doryani's prototype and Progenesis to exist. I've played this game long enough. I've seen them remove and bring back Combs. I've seen them remove like Low Life. I've seen them remove Aura Stacker. I don't trust. Like I sort of, it's my intuition, right? And I think some people would agree that some shit is probably gonna get nerfed next league. I do think Progenesis is one of them. So that's really the build. And yeah, this is probably the tankiest map for the minions. 165% minion life, +1 endurance charges. Minion resistance does not affect Doryani prototype, but endurance charge does because it's elemental damage reduction, right? It's not resistance. So this is theoretically the tankiest map mod you'll find in T17 for a minion build of Doryani prototype. That doesn't include having Delirium and doesn't include having Wisps. So that's really the video. If you have any questions, let me know and enjoy.